You know, the future is scary. The future is really, really super duper scary. Oh, not just because Terminators are going to run rampant and destroy all humanity and we're going to live under Skynet and blah-de-blah-de-blah apocalypse, but the fact that, and I'm not making this up, there are 5 Terminator movies and likely going to be a 6th one. Good God, when are they going to stop?
Baby, yes.
Anyway, I'm Starbeastrave, your human host, and these are other human hosts, I think. There's an Anthony with too many grocery stores for demons.
Shit, he knows I'm not human.
Yeah, I knew that since the day we met. And then that one over there, I'm pretty sure is inhuman. That's Lewis with a lake with 77
No, I'm
suns.
just from another country.
Whatever, he's snapping. But I'll tell you what, you know, I do miss the original Terminators, or at least I remember what it was like seeing them in theaters, and they were something else. And then the 4th one and the 5th one were really shit.
Well,
I really, you know, Christian Bale just couldn't make me a believer, and he was too busy yelling at the light guy. And Arnold, even though he showed up in the 5th one, he just couldn't reprise his classic role from the 1st and 2nd and 3rd one. Especially.
Wait, I just realized something.
But I mean, whatever.
You're giving
the
3rd one a pass, though.
Of course, the 3rd one I liked. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I don't get the hatred that surrounds a lot of it. I mean, I thought it was perfectly serviceable.
Compared to the latest 2, it is not bad.
Serviceable.
Yeah, compared to Christian Bale yelling at the help and Arnold Schwarzenegger making a not so fun reemergence, I give it more than a pass.
I can definitely concede that it's better than 4 and 5, but I mean, the problem was when they came out. I mean, comparing it to the masterpiece that was Terminator 2.
Well, I mean, you can't compare. I mean, you can compare a sequel to its prequel, but ultimately the movie has to stand on its own, and I think the movie did stand on its own. It did repeat the plot from the second one, but it wasn't the same movie. I mean, for one thing, Connor's mom wasn't involved. Mrs. Connor was AFK, so it was just him. Also, I mean, Claire Danes is in it, and I love Claire Danes. She's the sort of assistant. And, I mean, it's Arnold being Arnold. I mean, he does what he does best, being a giant, terrifying robot.
Was Claire Danes playing the wife of John Connor?
The future wife, but yes, she was playing the red-headed, scared girl who ran and ducked with John Connor. And
you know what? I like her better than the guy playing John in that movie. All he was is just, I can't live up to my destiny, stop.
Well, I mean, back then you have to remember, that was back in 2003. That was back when the emo movement was kind of,
don't remind
moving.
me.
And so every protagonist back then had to be a mincing, whining wussy boy with an attitude as bad as their odor because they don't bathe. Anyway, you see my point. It's, I don't know. You don't watch it for him, though. You watch it for Arnold. Like any movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, you overlook everything bad in it, and you focus on Arnold.
I'll give you that, if you look at it objectively just on its own, it is a decent movie. I mean, it is at least a self-contained story that connects to the others, and at the time, it did conclude the so-called trilogy. Now we know it's not a trilogy, but, if Terminator had ended there, I would have been okay with it.
Well, it concluded the 4 story. The after story was the piece of shit war with Skynet, which was long, boring, and full of Christian Bale.
Unnecessary. It was basically the Star Wars prequels in reverse.
Well, not just that, but the fact is, we know that the humans win. I mean, they tell us that the humans win. The whole point was not that the humans win the war. We know the humans win the war because of John Connor. They make it very clear that as long as John Connor survives and grows up, he's going to win the war for humanity. So, that being the case in 2 and 3, it's kind of a no-brainer what happens in 4 and 5. I don't know.
In 5, they try to throw that there was it goes on because just when the humans win the war, twist, it turns out the machine sent back a Terminator to make sure that the end of the war was not the end of the war, and then this happens, and you stop caring the moment I stop talking about all this.
Because
prequel,
Skynet...
sequel, reboot, whatever they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Plus, Skynet doesn't have an original thought in its big, giant, empty computer head. All it does is create robots and send them back in time. Change the fucking record, Skynet. Jeez.
There's a reason why humanity overthrew
All they
it.
do is keep changing the model of the robot they keep sending back, and it's like it's not working. You know, like I hate to say it, but I think the epic rap battles of history had a good point when RoboCop rapped to the Terminator. I think they should just send an after morning time traveling after pill.
Well, or just send another 2800. I believe that's Arnie's number. Anyway, okay, here's what they did. They sent Arnold back, and then they sent, he didn't work, and then they sent him back. Well, no. Sarah sent him back to protect John, because Sarah had the good sense to know that Arnold's model was the superior one. Because they sent back the T-1000, which was really cool, admittedly, but he died too. And then they sent back that dominatrix bot who also bit the dust. I think it's pretty clear at this point Arnold's model is the superior one. So just send like a whole army of those fuckers after him. I don't know.
Well, they did say that the machine could only send one person or object at a time. So and then like it fried itself after being used. So, but it's weird thing. It's like with time travel, it's best not to think too much about it. But it's like if it's the same history, how come the models keep upgrading and the time and place where the Terminators get sent keeps changing? It's like, how does that work?
Because it's very simple. The flying spaghetti monster wills it to be so. But no, really, I don't know why. Time travel's kind of a bitch in movies like that. But again, you don't watch Terminator to think. You just watch Terminator and watch Arnold blow shit up.
I definitely can see that.
It's like, really, it's not even limited to Terminator. Think of any movie that he's in minus Junior. And it's just Arnold being Arnold. Minus Junior. For those who don't know, Arnold, the action king of the 80s, actually got pregnant in one of his movies. Yes, you heard that right. And Danny DeVito is sort of the father.
Nobody wants to picture that.
And that's all I'm going to say about it. And no, I'm not making one word of this up. Arnold Schwarzenegger reprising his role. Actually, I guess this was the first time he played a scientist, so this is kind of his primordial Mr. Freeze. He basically plays Mr. Freeze, and he freezes some semen inside of him that grows into some freaky Arnold baby, implanted by Danny DeVito. You think I'm making this up, but I'm not. Watch the movie. This is all in it. Oh, and there's a British chick that's not Helena Bonham Carter because she wasn't around yet. But you get what I'm saying. Arnold's had a weird and interesting thing. When he's not playing movies, he's getting pregnant. That's... What does that say about him?
This was at the height of Arnold's career, that movie, and I thought, all actors, especially actors that have been doing the same thing for a long time, eventually go, I want to try something different. I feel like I can branch out. And sometimes they can. Sometimes.
Boy, did that work out. Yeah, admittedly, the second time he did something different, I thought he did great. I don't care what people say. I love Jingle All the Way. I watch it every Christmas. Watching Arnold take on a bunch of Santa Clauses while he fights for Trouble Mandol. And, how need we forget, put that cookie down, cookie down.
It's a Christmas classic.
It's just Arnold
Show it
being
to your
when he's
kids.
not...
I personally like it when actors do try something different. And, even Junior, horrifying as it was when it came out and still is, it's one of those movies that you know what, that guy, he had the balls to do something else, and maybe it didn't work, but he went out of his comfort zone.
I think he had the ability to do everything else because he was a fucking millionaire thanks to Commando and Predator and all the other action movies he's extremely famous for. And he just thought he could get pregnant. It didn't work. So he spent the rest of his life hunting for Turbo Man dolls and running for California office.
I'm not gonna lie. Arnold's career was in the 80s and early 90s. After that, he still had a career, but it's like I'm trying to think of like a good movie. All his movies are watchable because he's in it, and that's a testament to his skill. But
if I'm not mistaken, the last one he was in one of the Expendables or both. I know he
he was in all of them, but he was like in the first one he only was in one scene as a cameo. Then in the second one he had like a whole role. And then in the third one, he was also like a longer cameo, but yeah.
That's pretty much the last thing I know him being in, other than reprising in Terminator.
He's been in a few like smaller movies in between that, but nothing that you would have seen or need to see.
Yeah, but
really.
he's plus in the movie. I can't imagine he's blowing shit up anymore. I love the guy, but he's not exactly in his prime.
He's trying. People associate Arnold with action and that kind of thing, so people.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He could still kick my ass, but I mean, let's be honest. He can't exactly do what he used to be able to do.
No, I mean, he's been trying in a lot of movies where he's like playing the old rugged badass, like you think he's Clint Eastwood or something, and like I still got one more in me, But I don't know if he does. To be honest, he looks like he's just in pain whenever he's doing like action.
I don't think he needs to. I'm pretty sure he can live off a Predator by himself.
No, I mean,
not to mention
he doesn't
Terminator.
need to. Obviously, he was a governor for fuck's sake. Not a governor. Governor. I'm so used to the term.
No, he was the governor, but he is no longer.
So, I mean, he could have retired by now easily. It's just that he loves the craft. He loves making movies and being involved in stuff. And I admire that about him. He really cares about the craft.
Well. Plus, I mean, if he didn't reprise his roles, Jean-Claude Van Damme might try, and Lord knows we don't want any of that. Or God help us, Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal can go to hell. I hate Steven Seagal, but
Well, I mean, he's too busy at Pizza Hut, but yeah, he'll go to hell.
I really don't like Steven Seagal at all. But Jean-Claude Van Damme was a treasure in the '80s as well. I mean, those were the classic stars of the '80s when it comes to action movies. I mean, I don't know why, but it was a trend to let's find some really unusual European guys that are like bodybuilding or Neil Karate or something.
Well, I mean, if you really don't like Steven Seagal, just watch Machete and see him get sliced in half, or maybe he was impaled. I don't know. All I know is
enjoy that when I watch it, believe me.
He does die. He does. Yeah, Danny Trejo brings out this ridiculous fucking sized machete that you'd see out of an anime and just cleaves him in twain.
Yeah, the first machete was really good. I never even saw the second one because everybody saw it was really bad, but the first one...
Yeah, once I see Lindsay Lohan, saluting with a gun in a nun outfit, I'm kind of, I think I'm good. I'm going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
Maybe Danny Trejo Danny Trejo, fuck, he's an action star on level with Arnold, except he speaks Spanish as well.
Hey, you can have a Mexican-American, action star, and he's definitely one of them. Although he's...
That's kind of what he was for a while. I mean, he more plays the old grizzled bastard that offers advice and shit, but I think Machete's proven that he can do wild and extreme stunts, for a big budget price.
No, absolutely. But, I mean, some people always say that, the era of the action star is gone, and, there are no more Jean-Claude Van Dammes and Schwarzeneggers, and even Stallone, and I disagree.
Well,
I disagree very much. I mean, I think it's sort of strong, in a sense, as prominent as before, but...
Well, in a sense, that's true. There's no more of that style, but every generation breeds a new style of action stars. Yeah. I mean, nowadays you have your Jason Stathams and your Dwayne The Rock Johnsons.
Yes.
I mean, they've kind of taken on the roles.
I love those two. I mean, that's the thing. People always say those are just doing the same thing in every movie. I'm like, that's the point. That is literally the point.
Well, I mean, so did Arnold and so did Stallone. Yeah. Exactly. You go to see them because they do that so well. Fucking John Wayne, he was a cowboy in every single movie, and people dug the hell out of that. Clint Eastwood, he's a tough, grumbling badass in every movie. People love to see that. Jack Nicholson, he's a psychotic, malcontented rich guy in every movie, and people love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's true with actors even outside of action. I mean, Will Smith, talk about, doing the same thing, but still loving it.
Well, he tried to branch out too. I mean, Will Smith did try to be an Arnold for a while, built, smart talking, tough action quoting, blowing up shit, Now that's what I call a close encounter. He tried to be an action star for a while, and he was. But then he slowed down, had a kid, and, ruined everything with Jaden. Thanks, Will.
That was his
Thanks, Will. Thanks for Jaden.
That was his branching out, trying to get Jaden in movies, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, he became Francis Ford Coppola in that he tried to shove his spawn into everything, even if they weren't welcome. You know who'd be great for this role in Dilbert? My son Jaden! Seriously. You know who'd be great for this role on Barney? My son Jaden! Didn't you see him wear his pink bat suit? He could wear something like that on the show. My son Jaden! Anyway.
Well,
you know what would be great for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot? My son
Jaden! Oh, God, who's going to play Carlton, though? Gee Willikers, who's...
You just find Alfonso, get him to come back, reprise his role as Carlton.
I don't doubt for 1 second that he would take the role, too. He'd do it just to be Carlton again. Why not? Everybody loves Carlton. He was Carlton.
But yeah, man, the action movie is not that. It's just that people don't... realize that it's still, like you said, it's evolved, to become something else, and that's fine. I mean, I think the classic style, like Jason Statham, I think had the last classic style in a modern setting, which was what was that? Oh, what was it called? The one where he retrieved things.
Jason's different though. Jason Statham is different though. He's a driver. I mean, in every one of his movies, he's driving something. Come on, man, that dude's like. Seriously, name one movie where he's not driving and shooting. He just always is.
No, I mean, I'm sure. He's done movies where he's not driving. I just have to think about it. But
I know, but what do you know him best for? Transporter, come on, man. He's always driving. Death Race.
Oh, okay,
that's
always. I mean, like with some action stars, have already have something associated with him. Like with Van Damme, it was martial arts. With this guy's driving.
Okay. I mean, he's the car guy.
With The Rock, I guess it's the jungle because he's not like all the jungle movies.
That is also true. Yes, The Rock does take place in the jungle quite a bit. Most of his best movies, you could argue, are always in the jungle. And hell, I mean, I think even in that Get Smart movie, which is a parody of spy action movies, he plays the. I think there's a jungle at one point that he's in because he can't get away from it.
I'm sure, in his contract it says must have one jungle scene at least.
Right. And then you got, other action stars in the same sort of genre, like Liam Neeson, who's always like this grizzled bastard who had CIA, FBI,
the funny thing about Liam Neeson is he was never an
former
action star.
government.
That happened late in his life. He had a career as a serious drama actor, and then Taken came out.
Yeah, but that's what people see him as now. I mean, before he was just, Mr. Drama, but now, all people ever think of is, when's Taken 4? The one where the daughter takes him! I don't know.
No, the thing is...
But you can't deny that he's
basically doing...
that.
He did 3 Takens, and then now the thing is... I realize this, that I figure it out. His gimmick now is taking in different moving vehicles. Like, he did Taking in Train recently. I don't know what the movie was called, and then before that he did Nonstop, it was Taking in a plane. So
that means you're not going to see Taken 4 giving...
I mean, probably. We all will. That's the thing.
He just gives his family to other people.
He
knows they're going to get captured, so he just hands them over, cuts out the middleman.
He's done taking, and now he's giving. Coming this November.
I have a very particular family with very valuable assets. I want you to take them so I can take them back.
Please ignore my Irish accent. I'm American, can't you tell?
I always but you know what? Actually, that's another timeless tradition of these action stars is that they were all European or European names. So and their characters would always be giving either a bullshit backstory, he's German, he's second generation German and just happens to be American in this movie or something, but they just go with it. He's from Germany, he's just visiting, and somehow he's a general in the United States Force,
I mean, the majority of famous action stars, or at least half of them, they were from a different country. Like Jean-Claude Van Damme was from Brussels, Arnold is from Austria, and I don't really know what hole Steven Seagal crawled out of.
He's from hell.
I'm assuming it was a black pit of death. But let's see. Then you had Bruce Willis, who I forget, is he Canadian?
I'm not clear on that, actually. I mean, I think he's American.
I don't know. Whatever. At least he has the proper accent.
I don't like Bruce Willis too much either, to be honest. I mean, I love the first Die Hard.
I was gonna say, you don't have to like the guy, but you gotta like Pulp Fiction and you gotta like Die Hard, man. Those
like Schwarzenegger and Stallone and Jean-Claude Van Damme. I always felt like they were good people, and they were. I mean, Arnold has his own controversy recent, but I don't think that has anything to do with his craft. And
well, no, I mean once you become a politician, it kind of follows you around. I mean, somehow a sex scandal is always embedded into you.
But that's his personal life. I mean, the guy has always seemed to me pretty stand up, in general things, and he definitely loves the craft, which is the thing I respect the most about him. But with Bruce Willis, I don't know. The more I hear about this guy, the more if he ever did care at the beginning, maybe, but since then he's just sort of I'm here for the paycheck. You don't tell me what to do. I'm Bruce Willis, bitch.
Well, I mean, maybe it was after Ocean's 12 he realized, wow, this is as good as it gets, huh? I should watch that movie. It was good.
Yeah, but
wonder what I'm having for dinner tonight.
But all the people we've talked about, I liked at least 3 movies from or more. Bruce Willis, I like Die Hard 1, and Pulp Fiction. It's not my favorite Tarantino movie, but I like it. But other than that, I don't really care about the guy or his work. I mean, I guess Armageddon was fun in the dumbest kind of way. That's all I can really say.
Armageddon was more like a road trip movie into space. You know, except one of them dies. But, you know, he's in more than that. There was Die Hard 2 and Die Hard 3 and Fifth Element.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll give you Fifth Element, damn it. I'll give you...
I always remember Fifth Element as a Bruce Willis
Damn it,
movie.
You got me there.
Yes,
you got me there. Okay, he has 3 movies. Okay, I guess he makes the mark barely, but he makes the mark.
Plus, come on, Die Hard 3 was good.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the second one's not bad. I feel like it's just not as good as 1 and 3, but it's okay.
Well, of course. I mean, sequels and threequels are almost never as good as the originals. It's very rare that you get one, but I thought 3 was good. Anything after that can suck it.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, Die Hard was, well, it was the greatest action franchise of its time, definitely, but it definitely had its time.
And now you got action movies like, again, Jason Statham and his various drivers.
Oh, well,
Dwayne Johnson's various jungles.
Actually, fun thing. The next movie that Dwayne Johnson is going to star in is literally The Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, but that's more him just being silly because he can. I mean, come on, it's The Jungle Cruise. What's the plot going to be about? No, you know what? I think I can mention the plot. It's the actual Jungle Cruise from Disney, but they go through a time warp and they end up in the real jungle. And the tourists, like, he has to keep the tourists happy so that they don't, you know, revolt and fall off the side and get eaten by a hippo or a crocodile, which personally I'd enjoy watching.
That's literally it, I'm pretty sure.
But, yeah. Well, you know what's funny is, wasn't he in Jumanji as well? Yet another jungle movie that...
Yeah, everybody's making the joke, and I agree that in Jumanji, he's wearing the same outfit he's wearing in this next movie, Rampage, which is like... I think they should...
Yeah, though to be fair, Rampage is a monster movie. I mean, it's basically Primal Rage, the movie, except with a plot.
Well, we'll see if there is a plot, but yeah.
My point is, there doesn't seem to be a jungle in it. So Dwayne's kind of looking a little lost, but
it's
you know, whatever. He's fought monsters
so
in
they're
the
making
past.
the whole metaphor of the city as the jungle with the giant animals. I mean, so he's like, I'll take it. You know, it qualifies.
I guess. I mean, and he's no stranger to CG monsters, him being a horribly rendered one. I mean, I'm just saying, I think we all saw Mummy 2, and we agreed that was the only bad thing in it, was that god-awful pixelated bullshit with his face sewn onto it.
You know what? I still like that movie.
It's a beautiful movie.
Like the movie. Just
everybody adores the movie.
You can tell how uncanny that effect was.
I always figured it was the time.
But like I said, that's the best.
2001 when that came out, I think.
Hey, dude, the problem is there were perfectly decent, legit graphics in the first one and the second one, except for that. All the graphics actually were pretty damn impressive, you know, with the exception of Imhotep's Stretch Armstrong face. But no, I mean, I'm sorry. The end boss of a video game from the 1990s with The Rock's face sewn onto it does not make a convincing thing for me. Ugh. God, it was ugly. Ugly.
I give you, but, you know, I was trying to look for a movie that, you know, had Jason Statham not driving a car, and, well, the best I could find right now is the next one he's going to be in later this year, which I'm really excited about. He's not driving a car, he's driving a boat.
On the Jungle Cruise.
I'm talking about Jason Statham, not The Rock, but which is well.
Oh, so he's gone. Okay, so now I get it. They're having him go from land to sea to air. Next time he's going to be driving a fucking plane. Or a helicopter.
I mean, he's going to be fighting a giant shark called Meg.
I can't tell if you're serious or joking. At this point, I'd believe
No,
either
I'm
one.
serious. Coming this August, the movie called The Meg, starring Jason Statham as a marine something, you know, who has to...
A marine biologist? What?
I don't know if it's a biologist or like a sea captain or something. I don't know. He doesn't look like a scientist in this picture I'm looking at right now, but... I mean, yeah,
Either way, he's a seaman. Either way, he plays a seaman.
Yeah, and he single-handedly will have to defeat a 70-foot shark.
Okay, so Jason Statham takes on Jaws.
No, Mega Jaws. Mega Jaws.
Okay, because I got confused with Meg. When you say Meg, do you mean Meg from Hercules? Meg from Family Guy? That name is so stupid. I have to have clarification
I believe
here, please.
Meg stands for Megalodon.
Oh, does it? I guess they couldn't get the rights because that movie already exists. It has the same exact name. But I guess they figured, let's have a bald guy fighting him.
No, from what I see, this is based on a very popular book that came out after Jaws became popular. And they've been wanting to make this movie for a while, but I guess it's been in development hell for like 14 years.
Well, I mean, this one, Statham has an unfair advantage. I mean, you see, the surface of his head can reflect so much sunlight that it can actually re-enter the water and burn Jaws alive. I'm sorry, it's just not fair.
I'm just not going to call it Jaws. I'm going to call it Meg because, I mean, it's not fair to Jaws.
I'm just going to call it Jason.
Here's a picture I'm looking at right now from the movie where the giant mouth of the shark is open and trying to swallow, like, I'm going to guess, Jason Statham's brother or something. And Jason Statham is holding from the ledge of his boat, stabbing the mouth of the creature defiantly. And that's just awesome.
With what?
Oh, I'm not...
Wait, what's he stabbing
he's holding
with?
like a long
what kind
black...
of,
like a spear?
No, it looks like a sword, honestly. I don't know what that is.
Why does the fishing boat have some kind of samurai sword or spear on it? Is this a specialty
I don't
tour?
know.
Is he...
I'm just going to say because Jason Statham.
Yeah, I guess he couldn't be, without his ancient artifacts of weaponry for too long, so he brought it on the boat, just in case he came across the Meg.
Yeah, but that...
With too, I can't fucking say it. I can't say that seriously.
But that is pure what we're talking about. I mean, just the over-the-top silliness of having the action star fighting a giant shark. I mean, and you know how ridiculous this all is, but you don't care. You love it. You love it because it is silly, and only they could give that to you.
There's more. I mean, even though we've been talking a lot about, Dwayne and his jungles, Jason and his, I guess, various modes of transportation. And then, because he's moved on to boats now, and it won't be long until he takes to the air. There's got to be someone else. Who else is dominating the action scene?
Well, I mean, that's the...
Well, I mean, I guess there's Tom Cruise, but let's be honest, that guy, as much as I like him, he's kind of fizzled out.
No, don't tell him that because he won't believe it.
He's not the same action. He's not the same action god he used to be. Granted, he used to be. Tom Cruise used to be one of them guys. He used to be. You know what? He used to be the spy guy. Everyone had their thing. He was the spy. He was the secret agent.
Yeah, I can see
He was
that.
always playing.
Back when Mission Impossible.
Well, yeah, Mission Impossible.
Was a lot more,
exactly.
I mean, he was always the American James Bond, not on the same level, but the closest, in American terms.
I mean, now he kind of got into supernatural action. He kind of went from, CIA, FBI, Secret Services, all that crap, and he moved on to, like, being the protagonist in, like, a groundbreaking science breakthrough, like that one, whatchamacallit, the one where he, like, displaces from reality and he has to repeat the same day over and over.
Live Die Ready
Tomorrow?
Yeah, Groundhog Day, whatever. And then there was that other one, and then there's The Mummy, of course, though that movie we do not speak of.
Yeah, I think he considers that a mistake. But, then, I don't know, the thing is, we don't have any, like, new one. I mean, because Jason Statham and The Rock are both getting a little old. They're not old yet, but they're starting to get there, and I'm not seeing a new generation yet. I mean, that could still happen, because they're crowding the market, but,
every now and
eventually...
Every now and again, somebody tries. Like, every now and again, a young actor tries. Like, James McAvoy tried to be an action star in one movie. He was, again, it's the same sort of Secret Services undercover crap. And then, even Shark Boy tried once. Even Shark Boy tried to be an action star in his own movie, but nobody even remembers the title to it, so,
it doesn't always take.
But yeah, every now and again. It very rarely does nowadays. Back in the 80s and 90s, you saw a cheesy gun-shooting trailer for a movie and you thought nothing of it. You're like, fuck, I'll see that just for funsies. Nowadays, you don't even see them that much anymore. I mean, everyone's too spoiled by the superhero stuff now to care about it. Superhero action movies are a different species altogether. What we're talking about is, we're talking about built men, special men, but men, not super beings, just regular, ordinary dudes of extraordinary skill and strength taking on things and winning, and you see less and less of that. And again, you can blame superhero stuff for that. Everyone's just addicted to it.
It's not that superheroes are the equivalent, but they have kind of overtaken what the market space for that would be,
That's what I'm saying. It's the dominant force right now, so that's why we're not seeing any young bucks taking on Arnold's role or becoming the next Stallone, because frankly, you're either a superhero or
and
we
all here are extremely big superhero fans. We obviously don't want those movies to go away, but I think it's just like misleading not misleading, but it's unfair, because it's like the actors. It's so much easier. Like, I can just put a costume and all my actions will be done by a stunt double or like CGI. So there's no real challenge in the same way as the old school, because it's not the same. It's not the same as seeing Arnold,
to be fair,
do what he does versus Chris Evans in a spandex suit.
But to be fair, that was a big thing in the 90s, too. In the mid-90s and early 2000s, even action movies. I'm not talking about comic book movies, because those weren't big. Those weren't big yet. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, when CG was just starting to get popular, action movies suffered that, too. They used CG for everything. For vehicles, explosions, pretty much anything that couldn't be done physically, they would just make a CG thing out of it, and it looked bad. God, it looked so bad.
Can you give me an example? I feel like I know what you're talking about, but just to have an image in my head.
One of the Mission Impossible movies, the one where they're like in a train, they're like in a train tunnel and the helicopter's going in, and and there's like 100 of them just like that. It's just all CG, and even. It's just, nowadays, CG is a huge problem and physical effects die out all the time, but even the movies we're praising today, even those ones weren't free of that. I mean, I miss the days of just gritty guns and, quick cuts, bloody bodies. I mean, that was fun, but I don't think we're going to get that again for a while. Not as long as
like the American martial artists movies, again with the John Club and Damsel that were also in the Rambo and Commando style. A lot of them, one of my favorite, my favorite John Club Van Damme movie was the Kumite movie, the Bloodsport, and that was just martial arts, man. That was just him, and there were no special effects, no extras. There was just let's get a bunch of fighters, shoot them, fight each other in as cool a way as we can, and bam, that's awesome,
That was the thing back then, and even in a movie like Street Fighter, where you expect to see superpowers and crap, Jean-Claude Van Damme, for the most part, he's just using his fists. It's just fist fighting.
Back then, you actually knew how to. You had to know how to fight, and you had to show those skills, and that's the beauty of it.
But even Jean-Claude couldn't keep that up. I mean, he did do that one movie with that basketball player that nobody remembers, but, even that was a CG fest, too. Even he couldn't stop himself from being a part of it.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Even the bad movies,
even the bad actors.
Movies where you had fighting or, guns and all that stuff, even those, they had some, watchable quality to them because of just how fun and over the top they were, But they were all...
You watched them because they were over the top. It's like... This is exaggeration. Wouldn't I love to be a super spy taking on a fucking Apache helicopter with rocket launchers on the side? Wouldn't I like to be hunting down Sinbad for a Turbo Man? But, that's just not feasible. But, a nation of futuristic Africans under the Panther God, that's totally feasible. Norse mythology all being real and a bunch of aliens, that's feasible. But I could never take on an Apache helicopter.
Yeah, but the cinema has just become so, I don't want to say snobby, but it kind of has. It's like back then, and even back then, they would laugh at guys like Arnold or Jean-Claude trying to prove we can be in movies and stuff. And then I'm sure they had to go through a lot of humiliation to get roles. But now it's just, so much worse because even for action stars, when you. I'm sorry, but when you cast the guy from The Pianist as an action star, you're setting a standard that it's fuck you.
Wait, what? What did Adrian Brody do that was an action?
He was the lead in Predators, remember?
I never saw Predators.
No, I didn't see that. I didn't see that because it didn't have Arnold.
Yeah.
See what I mean? I can't watch Predator without Arnold.
It's a decent movie. It's not my favorite. It's my least favorite of the Predator movies so far, but it was okay. But the thing is, that's your action star, the fucking pianist. I mean, you'd rather have him muscle up and look out of place, and just because he can convey emotion in the 3 moments that we don't care about in the movie where emotion is shown. Like, come on.
I don't know. I guess they saw him surviving monsters in King Kong, and they figured this will translate well.
And yeah, it's the same thing. With superhero movies, it's different because you don't need a musclehead guy for that, and you do want somebody who can play the emotional complexity of those characters. But for action movies like Predator and things like that, we don't want actors and to look out of place. We want people, like Schwarzenegger, like Statham, like all these guys that are just like iconic.
We just want a big, muscular, catchphrase spewing monster with a gun in both hands. That's all we want.
Yeah, not saying actors can't do action movies, but it shouldn't be the Arnold of that movie.
I'm just saying the reason you watch movies like that is to get away from logic and sense. You just want to watch a monster beat up a bunch of other monsters.
Exactly.
You just want to hear Terminator say, "Fuck you, asshole."
My favorite one was when he in the first Predator when he stabs a guy through a pole and he says, "Stick around."
That's a good point. Everyone here, I'm pretty sure, can name some of their all-time favorite one-liners from action movies. For me, one of my favorite was in Commando when he literally impales he impales the Aussie bad guy whose name I forget
Bennett
into a pipe, and then he's like, "Let off some steam, Bennett."
Yeah.
That's just so contrived, but god damn it, I love it.
Only people like that can make those one-liners work. I mean, they're cheesy. Anybody else would just look like an idiot, but I mean, God, they own it.
There's I remember Jean-Claude Van Damme in Street Fighter. He knocks M. Bison off when he's flying. He's like, "Bison, you're off the air." Ha 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 ha.
Oh man, yeah.
And Sylvester Stallone, I guess, was, I don't know, Heads Up. Oh no! I am the law.
Oh no,
I am the law.
Yeah, I am the law.
I am the law. No, but no, he had more than that. What other ones did Stallone?
The one I always, this is not an action phrase, but the one that always comes to mind is Adrian.
Yeah, I guess you could argue it's an action movie in that the action takes place in only some of the movie. Most of us just speaking out of the side of his mouth.
Don't take that, Mick.
Hey, come on, Mickey, cut my eye open. It's okay, the skin will grow back in the next movie, because that's how biology works. Don't worry, Mickey, I'll be alright. Also, while we're at it, we'll give me some jaw reconstructive surgery so that the other half of my mouth works. What? We can't afford that? Shit, Mickey, what do I pay you for? I'm the law.
I mean, Bruce Willis, I again, from the first Die Hard, which I do love, now I know how a microwave oven feels.
Yeah, that's a good one, but come on. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, is the ultimate.
That was too easy.
No, that's the point. That's the one everyone remembers. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Everybody knows that one. Come on.
Okay.
Then, even what's his name from Jaws has one. Smile, you son of a...
Or we're gonna need a bigger boat.
And he wasn't even an action star. We're gonna need a bigger ass.
But I guess you could consider Jaws an action movie technically. I mean,
you know what? You know what I just realized? We've been talking about the famous lines that cheesy action stars used to say back then. I can't think of one that Statham or Dwayne have done. I mean, yeah, they do plenty of good roles, but I can't think of one iconic line from any of them.
I'm sure that's not right. Let
me
think.
But see, the thing is, you can't think of it off the top of your head. I can think of 100 from Predator or Die Hard. I mean, that's the thing. You can think of any of the one-liners off the top of your head, but nowadays, now you have to think, because there isn't enough cheese. The movies need more cheese.
You know what? I'm going to have to agree with you. If I have to think this hard for one...
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure there are, but like the fact that you can't just spit them off the top of your head is just, that's a criminal. I want new one-liners, man.
I do have one from Vin Diesel, who I also would consider an action star in that capacity next to The Rock and Jason Statham.
Oh, you know what? We haven't talked about him. Now, Vin Diesel's kind of like Statham in that he does a lot of driving, too. I mean, But unlike Statham, he did diversify a little, and he's every now and again he'll play this CIA special force.
Oh no, I know these movies aren't as huge in the United States, but to the rest of the world, that guy is Dominic Toretto from Fast and the Furious, and I mean, top of my head, I know like one of his most iconic lines, besides "I am Groot," it's always going to be, "This is Brazil."
Everybody knows the Fast and the Furious movies, which stopped being about high-stakes racing and criminal activity and became fucking international politics and espionage somehow. I don't know how that happened.
It's still criminal activity. They just became, instead of car thieves and racers, they just became car terrorists for the good guys. It's weird. It's weird, yeah.
Yeah, it sure is. And,
look, it's the Fast and the Furious movies get a bad rep, but they are like the epitome of the modern that. I mean, they are dumb movies about strong jack-up dudes shouting one-liners as they drive cars off bridges. And in the last movie, I think it was like off a submarine in the Arctic. I'm like, come on.
And in the end, isn't that what we're all about? You know what? But you know what? They actually tried to write I can't believe we haven't talked about this one yet. They tried to make a new one. They tried to make with it in mind, like, we're going to make a modern-day cheesy action movie based on something everybody knows, the A-Team.
Oh.
Remember that festering pile of shit?
I honestly did not until you brought it up.
Right? Because it's that forgettable. It's like, yeah, we landed a tank using a goddamn parachute while, Liam Neeson, Terry Crews, I think... Chris Evans isn't in it.
No, the guy from District 9, South African guy. What's his name?
Right. Yeah, forgettable ass alien from District 9. And then
Matthew McConaughey. No, not Matthew McConaughey. The other guy, the guy who plays.
Wait a minute, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Terry Crews wasn't in that one. He was in Expendables.
It was a guy that they got because he looked and sounded a lot like Mr. T, but I don't remember his actual name. It was.
Well, he did a good impression of him, but yeah, nobody can be Mr. T.
Yeah, it was Chris Cooper, the South African guy from District 9, Liam Neeson, and that guy they found for Mr. T. I don't remember his name. But.
And the only decent, even then, the only decent ones were Mr. T and the guy who played Hannibal, but that's about it. Everyone else is just kind of fodder. They also tried to do... You know what? They tried to actually rip off that movie, which was ripping off other, cheesy classic 80s movies, which was... You ever heard of The Losers?
That was a comic book, though, to be fair. But it was a comic book inspired by the 80s.
Oh, no, I know. But, it's no matter how you look at it, it's a rip-off. It's just every single thing about it is exactly the same as the A-Team, except they're more like superheroes rather than... crazy army guys who know how to do anything.
Yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate her. It had good talent, like Chris Evans, Idris Elba. The guy from The Watchmen. What's his name? The guy who played the comedian.
Him. Oh God, I
can't remember his name right now.
I remember his face, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, isn't that always a bitch?
Yeah, he's like a modern Bill Paxton.
Somebody look it up. Somebody look up his name. This is driving me crazy. I need to know.
I know this guy. Yes. He plays Thomas Wayne in Batman vs Superman. What the fuck is his name? Here it is. Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Never heard of him.
Well, you've seen him. But
I've also seen a tire fire, but that doesn't mean I'm excited.
This guy got big recently because of playing the main villain in The Walking Dead, which I stopped watching after season 3, so I never got to him. But
whoop-de-doodle-doo. So he fights some dead guys. Shit.
He is like a Bill Paxton. He has all these movies where you've seen him in, but he doesn't play like a main role, and you never remember who he is.
Well, if we're still comparing modern action heroes to old ones, this guy spends his time fighting dead guys on a show. You know who the original cheesy 80s action star fighting dead people was?
Ash.
Bruce motherfucking Campbell.
Ash Williams, played by Bruce motherfucking Campbell.
Talk about cheese, man.
Who was also a great action star. Dude, that movie was pure cheese, pure haunted horror cheese, and God, did we love it? How can you not love a movie where a dude amputates his arm and replaces it with a chainsaw?
But yeah, that would definitely count as the 80s action.
But I agree, because come on, there's a lot of bloodshed, there's a lot of gore, guns, and shit, especially in Army of Darkness.
Bruce Campbell plays that sort of iconic, just one-liner killing, he owns it. He's less jacked up, but he does.
I mean... I mean, he's more pulp action. You know, it's action that's like kind of like Machete. You know, it's completely ridiculous, but it's fun. You know, it's like things that
exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. One thing I don't count, though, in terms of modern-day action movies, and one thing, I think I mentioned this before, all the ones where it's just a determined young sprout in some kind of secret services position, or that's what I hate about current action movies, is that it's always some ill-defined secret service. Like... Not really FBI. They're always kind of running from the FBI, even though they're supposed to be working with. You know what I mean?
The runaway team.
They're always some. Yeah, they're like they work with the government, but they also kind of don't because they work outside of the rules, and yet they're just. It's. I hate that. Dude, have them working for the government or around the government, but don't mix it. Like,
it's simplicity itself. You don't want to complicate it with some muddled plot conspiracy things. People are not into that, and they're not going to have the brain power or the not the brain power. I mean, the interest in this kind of movie to just like, what's happening? Who betrayed who? Because I don't care. Just shoot somebody.
Yeah. Sorry, when John Matrix was a soldier, he was a soldier. He wasn't fighting for anybody except for America.
Yeah, it's so simple. He was
but mostly America.
In the cabin, and the army like, John, we need your back. He's like, okay.
Come on, John Matrix, we need you back. You're the best there is. Come on, No.
He's like, I'll do it for my daughter.
But nowadays, I mean, I guess I'll talk about one more modern day sort of action movie, which I think is trying to emulate the old stuff. I forget that it's the one about Samuel L. Jackson being the top assassin and Ryan.
Ryan Reynolds is his bodyguard.
Ryan Reynolds, that what's it called?
Bodyguard,
Hitman's Bodyguard.
Hitman's Bodyguard, yeah.
Yeah, the Hitman's Bodyguard, which is a clear attempt to make a modern style action cheese again, and it worked. I enjoyed it, but
Samuel
in a different
Jackson
way.
is definitely another. Old and modern. I mean, he's been through the whole since the beginning, man.
Well, he still holds the record for most appearances in movies.
He might be the king of that
history,
game, now that we bring it up, actually.
I mean, yeah, he's been in a ton of action movies himself, And you know what? He is always spewing the one-liners. He is always doing the crazy lines, and he's pretty damn memorable.
Yeah,
so
he's still
I guess
at it, so he might be the king of this, to be honest.
For now, yeah, I would say that both him and maybe Ryan Reynolds when he's doing good stuff. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is kind of that funny action star too.
Yeah, he's sort of in between. He doesn't. I don't know if he goes that full yet. He hasn't done enough movies to qualify, I feel. Unless you count Deadpool, but Deadpool's more of a superhero movie. It's kind of, Deadpool is kind of both. Deadpool really mixes.
You can't count that one. It's a comedy. It's a parody of superhero movies. You can't count that one.
If Ryan Reynolds did more movies like
Apples
the
and
Hitman's
Oranges.
Bodyguard, yeah, I would definitely count it. He has the potential to be like the funny guy of that group, you know.
I liked Hitman's Bodyguard. I actually thought it was kind of a jump back into the old 80s cheese I was missing with the one-liners, the kooky characters, the opposites. That's another thing we haven't discussed yet. You ever notice in all those action movies where there's partners involved, they're always total opposites because buddy!
The buddy, well, not buddy cup, but the buddy action star, yeah.
Yeah, buddy action. There you go. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, of course, we had bad ones like Tango and Cash, but I mean, there were also good ones, you know?
Yeah, but for every one of those, you had a Demolition Man.
Demolition Man
was fucking awesome.
Crap. I don't get that. That movie is so good.
Not anymore. I think nowadays people actually dig the hell out of it. I mean, it's... In terms of movies go, it is pretty bad because there's so many plot holes that make no sense, but I don't care. I dug the hell out of it. Everything in it is so damn memorable.
One of the last... I mean, this is in my opinion, but one of the last good buddy action movies, although they're not buddies, but it has kind of that symbiotic relationship, was Face Off.
Well, yeah, that was more of that was definitely enemies, but I see what you're talking about in terms of two actors having, two actors sharing the same space, having great chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird case, but I think it's one of the last ones where they had just two good action stars. I mean, well, John Travolta and Nicolas Cage are not exactly action stars in the traditional sense, but they're definitely being out there.
Well, Nick Cage is. I wouldn't call John Travolta an action star, but Nick Cage definitely is. That dude does tons of action
It's so
movies.
cheesy, and it's just like they're out trying to out-ham each other, and I love it. I love that scene where they're just like, you know, like, oh, you're gonna cry? It's because I'm in your face, I'm in your body, I'm gonna nail your wife. It's like, He's just like teasing him like psychotically.
It's funny, like, I mean, guys, back then, guys like Nicolas Cage were bringing the old 80s cheese. They had all the mugging faces. They had all the poetic lines. They had all the fucking explosions. But then they had this weird thing where it was like a crazy person versus a straight man. You know what I mean? It was, the guy, straight-faced, by the book, Maybe a little angry and crazy, but by the book, I refuse to do this, I'll do this. And then against a batshit crazy Green Goblin motherfucker. It's weird.
No, it's
seriously, Nicolas Cage. If Nicolas Cage doesn't play the Green Goblin, then all hope is lost. Because if not Willem Dafoe, definitely him.
No, I mean he's too old to play those kind
Come
of
on,
characters.
you can see that. Misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen. I offered you friendship, and you spat in my face. Nicolas Cage.
I want somebody to make that video. A Nicolas Cage video
yes.
over that.
Nicolas Cage plays the Green Goblin. Yeah, you can already picture his voice saying all them lines. Oh, the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout, down came my ass, and fished him out, scratching at the door. Also, I mean, if the Green Goblin is going to work, I'm all for the Green Goblin origin story, but he's got to have a martini glass full of jelly beans if I'm to be in the proper mood. Set the tone for the movie. Don't make me bring my lawyers in. I want my jelly beans.
The scene where he's seeing with Spider-Man, where he has him in the rooftop. He's just talking to him like, "I could crush you."
I could crush you like a bug right now, but I'm willing to make a deal. Think about it, hero. God.
when he like erupts into Aunt May's like praying like, "Finish it,
finish it, finish it." Come on.
I don't have all day.
Word to the not so wise about your little girlfriend. Do what you need to with her, then broom her fast. Nicolas Cage. Every one of my girlfriends in movies is always disappointed. I don't have a bear suit, but it's pretty damn close.
How am I?
No, not the spiders! Not the spiders! Got her in my eyes! And so there you have it, folks. That's what we need. Nicolas Cage, from action star to comic book hero. That's
I never knew I needed this, but now I do.
Well, now you do.
Oh, man, that was great.
Now you do. And before we get into any of this madness further, I'm just going to stop by saying Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines is now on Netflix. Go and watch it now and relive all of that, well, not 80s action, but it's something. Arnold's in it.
And if we're going to go full circle, I'm just going to say that, because you opened the session by asking if we're going to get a sixth one, and I'm here to tell you that we are. And here's the good news. Though. This one looks to be more promising because, A, it's not directed by James Cameron, but he is writing and producing it, which is the first Terminator movie he's been involved in since the second one. He had nothing to do with the next three.
Oh, yeah. My. Well, you know what I have to say about that.
The guy directing it, though, he's the one who directed the Deadpool movie, so, I mean, if that's any indication, God knows what he's doing. I'm just saying. In case people don't know, Arnold had a heart attack last week. He survived, thankfully, but he's on the last, lap of his life. I don't think he's cut out to do these kind of movies anymore. So this might be his farewell.
What mission will be John Matrix's last? Who knows? In the meantime, go ahead and watch Conan or something. And with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye whilst I go and relive all my 80s memories. For now, I'm your host, Starbeastrave, and these are the other guys.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh.
We'll be back.
And remember to like, subscribe, follow us on all our social media and our channels, and join us next week when we talk about something we haven't decided. Thank you.
Bye.